Hey guys, it's me, Ensign Davery, and today I'm going to do a sketchbook tour. So the last sketchbook tour I filmed was January through May of 2018, and today we're going to be looking at May through July of 2018. Ooh, looks like I never finished that cover page. Let's just finish that up right now. July 2018. There we go. That's better. Here, I thought that I would be better about doing warm-ups, so I wrote a bunch of warm-up ideas for myself and then proceeded to not do any of them. This is a doodle that Aiden did. This is a modular post-it drawing I did. You can sort of lay them all out like that. See? It forms a bigger picture, and this is Scene Teens from the ARG Max 2019. If you remember back in like summer of 2018 when there was that bot asking everyone like, hey P-Brain, can you teleport? That's what this character's from. That was some good times. Here we have some sketches of the punk from The Punk and the Pigeon. You may remember from the last sketchbook, I believe I was sort of noodling around with the design, and this is sort of where I was finalizing it before jumping into the comic. Here's a diary comic. I believe Aiden wrote that for me since it's their character, the black squirrel that's featured there. More of the punk. Another diary comic. I really love this one. Here is sort of a rough draft for the first panel of the page there. And for this I sort of used a pale marker to mark out where the car seats were gonna be since the panel is in the interior of a car. And then I used a color erase pencil over the top to sort of draw in where the characters would be so that I would get sort of an idea of where the characters were in relation to the car. This is my short comic called The Punk and the Pigeon. I'm about to show you 6 out of the 7 pages of that comic, so if you haven't read it, I'll link it in the description so that you can go do that and then come back. But this is page 1. Fell out, which is why I had to tape it back in. Pretty proud of it. I do like a full car interior. I tried my best to do little details, like if you see in the first panel, there's a little button that says gay, if you look closely and upside down. And the all-important Allen wrench that brings the punk and the pigeon together later is right there in the corner of the panel. So over on this side, I'm not even sure if you can see it because it's just in a pale purple marker, but there's sort of a rough layout of this page over here. I'm still very proud of how this panel turned out. That was actually a high-risk panel to do because I took reference shots where I took my phone and reached my arm into a storm drain to photograph the inside of the storm drain to make sure it was accurate. And I really needn't have done that because it basically just looks like a concrete wall with a hole in it, but you know, just if you were wondering, this is an accurate inside of the storm drain. And I think I did a very good job on this hand, even though it's like a semi-realistic hand as opposed to these cartoony things that the rest of the comic has, but it's a hand, okay? Page number 3. Page number 4. I really am not like super psyched about how these background colors turn out. I was trying to keep to just a limited color palette, and I'd sort of gotten away with using the pink up until that point, but at this point I sort of realized that it's like dusty rose pink. I wasn't loving it for the background color, so after this page I did introduce another pale pink marker to use on the backgrounds. Taking a brief break for another diary comic. This one I was experimenting with using, I believe this is watercolor. I don't think that's watercolor pencil, but I'm not certain. As the background, and then my usual alcohol markers for the core vid. This is, I believe, watercolor marker. I'm not certain about that, but I feel like this was probably watercolor marker. And then we skipped over page 5. That's in the next sketchbook. The sketchbook I started from July to, I believe, October. So we skip over page 5, and then here's page 6. And I actually did a video where I colored this on camera, so I will put a link to that up in the little eye in the corner if you want to see me color this. And page 7, happy ending. And I did try and film this coloring. That was my first take of that video where I colored a comic, but I unfortunately lost all the footage and I was very sad. Here's more just marker doodles using the lighter color yellow underneath to sort of do a sketch and then define it with the blue on top. It's alright. Oh, I kind of wish I'd put that outfit in. That's a really cute outfit that the punk's wearing with like a sweater and overalls. Should have done that. And I guess at one point I was thinking of making the hunk's skin praline, but I guess I also forgot that. I should have like looked at this page when I was about to finish drawing page 5 and coloring. Here is another diary comic, and I guess I didn't like using the watercolors very much because I went back to using the alcohol markers for the background. Here is a commission I did of, it says right here, I wrote it down, it's a character called Sam, who is an Asiatic lion, and it is for, I assume, Tumblr user Giggle Snorts. There's the punk. There is a character I share with Aiden. It's Aiden's character, Deadbeat Dick. There's a diary comic I never finished about a dream I had, and a rough draft for a commission, which was, I believe, the next page? No, it'll be in a couple pages. Here's me in a comfy shirt, because I love comfy shirts. Here is a Thorned Devil for Pooch Gooset. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. I really like how this came out, but you can probably tell because the camera's looking straight down at it, but the anatomy is a little off. So rather than scan this, I sort of photographed it at an angle to try and offset that, because compared to this massive head, especially the lower body's too small. And there it is. There is the chameleon and the lollipop, and it's galaxy print, which I love doing galaxy print, but it's pretty stressful also because it'll basically look like a hot mess up until the very last second, and then it'll all come together and look really cute. Oh, here are some early designs for the pigeon's humanized form. Something stayed the same. I kept the nose and the hair. I believe I toned down the eyes a little. They're not quite that. And then I thought the pince-nez were a pretty cute idea because it looks like the little sort of nostrils that the pigeons have, but I just didn't put them in because it just, I don't know, I couldn't quite wrap my head around the logic of how they would have no clothes but also a pince-nez, and then I was like, well, if they have a pince-nez, then I need to like give them clothes, but does that mean that their clothes just merged with their corporeal form when they were a pigeon? And it probably doesn't matter, but trying to think through the logic of it just gave me a headache, so I just decided to do away with those completely, even though they were a pretty cute design trait. This is definitely watercolor. We've got some swatches and then me messing around. This is this little watercolor mini kit that I got to try and see if I'd like it. Watercolors. I like them all right. I'm not very good at them, but this is a fun little kit because you just get some basic colors. Yellow, red, 2 blues, 2 greens, a brown, and a gray. Yeah, I don't know. If you're looking for like a little mini kit, I don't think this was that expensive, but the watercolors are actually pretty okay quality. I like this okay. You might like it okay too. Or maybe not. I don't know. I'm not you. Here's some just ballpoint pen doodles. I don't remember doing these, but I'm guessing that I was pretty art blocked at the time. Here is another comic that has the marker, alcohol marker for the characters, and then watercolor for the backgrounds. And I don't think was adding enough water. Like, I really feel like I ruined this panel here with this bright green. I really wish I had made that and watered it down more and made it into a pastel. And then here I was experimenting with using the marker and the watercolor together. This I did the alcohol marker first and then the watercolor, and then here I did the watercolor first and then the marker. And then on these two sides I did it around. I mean, it looks basically the same, but it was basically to see if there were any factors I hadn't considered. There weren't. And then here it was going over it. So the marker does sort of this weird rippling effect if you layer it over the watercolor, whereas the watercolor just sort of lays down flat over the marker. I don't know, just experimenting. Another diary comic. Here I wanted to do like a character outfit design that like combined wisteria flowers with like a robed steel, which is a good idea, but I guess I just wasn't feeling it and didn't do a very good job. I should remember that and come back to that. That's a good idea. Oh, and there's more wisteria. Experimenting with watercolors more. You'll notice the purple's kind of muddy because, again, that palette had no purple, so I had to mix it myself, and I did not do a fantastic job. Oh, there's some very scribbly dick and bong head. Here, I was drawing some koi to just get familiar with drawing koi, because my Nono has a koi pond, and I was going to draw him a Father's Day card that said, I coint wait to wish you Happy Father's Day. Yeah, and then I didn't have a good pun for my dad, so he just got one that said, Father's Day, you lucky dog. Looks like I also had a rejected design that said, hope your Father's Day is dynamite. Here, I remember this. I was out with my mom running errands that involved a lot of standing around different places, and so I did a lot of drawing people as I stood around in different places. Here is a bunch of Judas and Jesuses from various productions of Jesus Christ Superstar. Looks like we've got John Legend Jesus. We've got Oh, what is his name? Man, I don't remember. Oh wait, I wrote it down. Brandon Victor Dixon. Could have just looked up there. But yeah, Brandon Victor Dixon's version of Judas, Tim Minchin's version of Judas from the 2012 Perth Arena version, and sort of a simplified version of that. And then there's like, sort of, I think that was sort of modifying John Legend's face a little bit to combine him with like the sort of more stereotypical version of Jesus that has sort of the gaunter face and the long hair. Not super happy with how that turned out. I do like how that Tim Minchin Judas and that Brandon Victor Dixon Judas turned out though. Those two are real good, and I like those eyes. This was a comic that I drew. I was wandering along West Cliff Drive in Santa Cruz and thinking about how after I moved it would be a very, very long time before I came back, probably, and I was very sad. And so I drew West Cliff Drive, various scenes along it. I drew that invasive iceberg plant or whatever it's called. I drew the California poppy, which is the plenty of those along West Cliff Drive, and they're the state flower of California. I drew the surf museum that's along West Cliff Drive, although I took some liberties. I sort of simplified it and changed the colors. And this isn't a particular place, but if you happen to walk down West Cliff Drive often enough, you can maybe tell where this is. Sort of coming up from Main Beach, the drive sort of goes out and then in again and then back out and then sort of starts to curve back around towards the surf museum. And I was standing on that first outcropping and drawing the second. I don't know, maybe no one can tell what that is, but I was standing there drawing it from reference, and this was a very bittersweet comic to draw, but I think it turned out very, very beautifully. And there's some more poppies, and here's a post-it that my friend Nairi doodled on. It looks like there's a diary comic I never finished down there, but I did draw over top of it with watercolor. And then here's one. I really think this is neat how this turned out, although I never really did another one like it, where I did just these long swoops with the blue watercolor and then did the diary comic over top with Sharpie. I think that turned out really neat. I should consider doing that again. I think that was real effective. Here are art block scribbles. Either that or I was drunk and scribbling, one of the two. I was either art blocked or drunk. Given how deep I dug the pen in, I think I might have actually been drunk. Drink safely, kids. Oh yeah, I remember now. I was definitely drunk and trying to draw, but I just ended up scribbling because I see that this page is where I had a pen like this, just sort of like a round purple ballpoint pen, but I pressed down so hard that I snapped this metal tip off, and that's why it gets so thick and scratchy. And, you know, I kept going, so I completely ruined that pen, but I don't know, I'm not sure there's an upside to that. I don't think these are particularly interesting pages. Oh, and I guess I switched to another pen and kept scribbling. Don't drink, kids. Drink in moderation. Here is some more watercolor scribbles. Here I was cleaning my desk, and I just decided to, every time I put something away, I would stick something onto the page. So like every time I put away a sticker sheet, I would stick a sticker on the page. Every time I put washi tape away, I would stick washi tape onto the page. Along with this Sea Turtle fact card. Got a little tag off some sort of Neko Atsume plush, it looks like. I'm not sure why this post-it just says Newsies. And it looks like I also wrote down a smoothie recipe there. So it's a good smoothie, it's good. Here, still art blocked, drew a bunch of triangles, and then I was going to color them in with this color scheme, but then I just lost interest and didn't. It's a pretty color scheme though. More of that color scheme. Shapes, lots of post-it notes of like eyes and faces. Yeah, so we're getting real deep into art block here. And then this is where the Sexymax2019 ARG started, and I was so into it. I remember distinctly that I was doing other things because we were preparing to move out of the house at the end of the month, and also like we were saying goodbye to people, but also like I was partly just glued to my phone following all the updates, and it was so cool. I'll link in the description to a summary of what happened in that ARG, but that was my first introduction to ARGs, and it was so fun. We've got more scene teens, lots of scene teens. 3 guesses who my favorite character was. I really liked how this page looked because it had the pen doodles in between the post-its, but then I accidentally ruined it because I did this marker drawing on the other side. But I do love how that turned out. And that's scene teens silhouetted against the eye of Hurl, because Scene Teens blog had just been taken over by Hurl, and then I started drawing this, and while I was drawing this, Scene Teens came back with their iconic "I live, bitch" line, and I just lost my mind. Ugh. More Sexymax 2019 drawings. I had an idea where I would like draw little Polaroids for each letter of teleportation, but I didn't end up doing that. It's a cool idea though. Here are some therapy notes from my last session in therapy, and a couple more little scene teens, because I guess I hadn't gotten that quite out of my system yet. So, if you didn't know, Corvid comics, my diary comics actually started because of therapy. They were originally an assignment that I was given to express my feelings, and I just kept doing them. And then there's a diary comic about feeling freaked out about change. Marker drawings, diary comic. More marker stuff. Here's a rough draft and a finished version. That's always kind of cool. Yeah, because it's now July, I had moved out of me and Aiden's house in Santa Cruz, and I spent July and part of August house sitting for my parents while they were on a trip. And I know this because they have a hammock, so I drew myself in the hammock because I love sitting in the hammock. And there's also a tortoise, and this looks like a plushie, but it's actually, I believe it's, what is it called? Dang it. A rubber boa. There's more drawings of rubber boas later, but they just look so goofy. And then here I went to sort of nature center where my mom volunteers, and she sort of took out different animals for me to be able to sketch. So here we have a full page of blue-tongued skink sketches, and that's Wolfgang the blue-tongued skink. And then I started walking through the exhibit, so we have a gopher snake, California giant salamander, rattlesnake, golden eagle, common raven, gray fox, darkling beetles, barn owls, bobcats, raccoons, red ear sliders, great gray owls, and then California desert tortoise, which is also right here, and the rubber boa. They have these cute little nubby tails. Just do yourself a favor and Google rubber boa. They're so cute and ridiculous looking. Okay. Diary comic, working on trying to do a new Patreon logo. I had an old one with Patreon's old logo when they had the sort of orange swirly P, but then they changed it, so I needed a new one. So I sketched out a couple ideas, and I ended up going with that one. Here it looks like I was doing another ARG and decoding some stuff. I drew a bird at the feeder. Patreon. Some pen doodles. Oh, this is a scan and print out version of a napkin I doodled all over at my boyfriend's sister's birthday dinner. I sort of like folding things out. I always want to incorporate more like folding and flaps and stuff in my sketchbooks, but then I just always kind of forget. Some pen doodles. This was a commission for someone going by the name Some Asshole. They wanted me to draw a little cat in a bow tie. Real cute. More ARG notes. More ARG notes. Those are some cute doodles of my cat Jinx. Another diary comic. More diary comic. There's Bonghead in a dress. I think this page was a game that we would play with Aiden and another one of our friends, where we would sit outside in the dark, and each person would give the person next to them a drawing prompt, and that person needed to draw without really being able to see what they were doing. I wish I'd written down what the prompts are, because I have no idea what half this stuff is. There's more of that game. I've got no idea what most of this is. More of that. And the last one. Oh, this might be the first time I drew the shape friends, which is whenever I've got art block, I'll draw shapes and then put faces and arms and legs on them, and they're called the shape friends. This was sort of a color study that I did right after taking a long walk in the sort of hilly park near my parents' house. It was a really clear summer day, and I was so struck by the combination of the blue sky, the green forest, and the yellow dried grass that I really wanted to just, as simply as possible, capture those three colors. So I did as soon as I did when I got home. So that's them in alcohol markers, and then I was trying to do the same thing in watercolors. Here is another diary comic where I experimented with using watercolor for the background. I really like this effect, actually. That's pretty cool. Another diary comic. Even though it's Aiden's character there, I don't think this was written by Aiden. I just think it's about Aiden. And another diary comic based on a true story. Oh, there's, Aiden was, for fun, we were talking about this, Horatio Hornblower AU, where Bush and Hornblower are, like, in a band called The Reliant. Anyway, it's like a band AU, and I drew Horatio, Hornblower, as portrayed by Ioan Grifio, who has a very hard face to draw. I'm still working on it, and I'm still not doing it well. Oh, and then I went to the Nature Center again, and while I was sketching, there was this little girl who was visiting from France, and she really loved my sketchbook and she wanted to draw in it too, so she drew herself and she signed her name, Mylène. And I think there's also a unicorn here that she drew, and she is in kindergarten. I asked her to sign it and tell me her age so that I'd always remember. Yeah, here are river otters, bobcats, ferret, guinea pig. I don't know, these kind of sketches, they never look very nice because, you know, when you're drawing from life, the animal moves around a lot and it's very hard to get like one good clean sketch. But I feel like just sort of using your pen to study the body and motion still, I feel, really helps. You get that sense of like the animal's shapes. Here's another diary comic. And that is the end. I think this page I was going to leave blank for page 5 of The Punk and the Pigeon, but then I didn't. And then here's figuring out car insurance stuff. Ugh. So yeah, that was my sketchbook from May 2018 to July 2018. I hope you enjoyed that. If you liked this video, you can press the like button, or if you wanted to see more of these videos, you can press the subscribe button. If there's a video you want to see, leave a comment and tell me about it, and I'll probably do it. And the next sketchbook tour I do will be the July through October sketchbook. But I think I've got a few things to do before that, including a desk tour, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!